Hi everyone, I hope you've been well. I hope the Lord has kept you and has been encouraging you even as the day of the Lord draws near. Um, I hope you've managed to journey with us throughout the Bible as we look at how God views women and just as we see the heart of God, and we see this to the lives of the women in the Bible. And you got a chance to finish the Old Testament, and we are now in the New Testament. So we've been looking at the life of Mary. We also had a look at Elizabeth's life and a few other ladies in Jesus' genealogy. But today we get to look at a woman who comes without a name. She's just called the mother-in-law of Peter. It's a short story about Peter's mother-in-law that is found in Luke chapter 4, verse 38 to 39. And so we don't know her name, but the state that she was in. This is Peter's mother-in-law. Jesus had just left the synagogue and then entered Simon's house. Simon's mother-in-law is sick and has very high fever. And the same Christ, whose name has now spread in the surrounding regions, is in their house. So you can imagine your mother-in-law is very sick, and the one that has entered your house is the one whose fame has gone round because he is healing everyone. Everyone who touches him receives healing. What a blessing that this woman had Jesus Christ near her in her sickness. But it looks like she was too sick to ask Jesus for healing, and her family is the one that asked Jesus to intervene in the situation. What a blessing, right? Sometimes we're in that space where we would love to pray and ask God to come through for us, but our bodies fail us. Our strength is gone. Our nature reveals how weak it can get. And we thank God for the family that is around her. The Bible has used a word, but, right after saying that Jesus entered Simon's house, it must have been a disappointing or a low point in this house with a sick mom. She must have been very good at welcoming guests, at hosting, at serving them. So Jesus did not receive the kind of hospitality the mom-in-law would have ideally welcomed him with. Now, ladies, we need God to help us understand the beautiful grace he has placed on us. Serving in hospitality. This is such a precious gift from God that can very easily be turned into a chore and a burden. It is such a blessing we have that we can naturally and graciously welcome people with smiles and make them feel comfortable, even when we ourselves are not at the very best. It is such a gift. But for this mom here, she was not able to because she was sickly. Now, I love that this mom does not try to prove that she is a superwoman by trying to drag herself in her state to try and give an instruction or try to serve the guests. She probably wanted to, but with this high fever, her body gets weakened, and so she couldn't do this. Learning from this mom, let's stop when our bodies have become tired. Ladies, telling myself first before I tell anyone else, let's stop when our bodies have become tired, and let's allow Jesus to come into our state. Let's realize how much God is looking to lift us up so we can serve and care for the needs around us. He is in it. He wants us to get rest. He wants to refresh us. He wants to see us serving, but in good health. The other beautiful gift women thrive in is building communities. In this case, the mother-in-law is blessed to have a son-in-law who hangs out with the Lord. When she is low, when she is sickly, there is a very high likelihood that Jesus will be there. Jesus will visit. Let us pray for God to surround us with family and friends who are Jesus' friends. Because when the need arises, they will surround us and make prayers for us. When we can't stand and are weak, they can stand for us and kneel for us and surround us with prayers and look to Jesus Christ to carry us through the seasons. Jesus then stood over the mom-in-law and rebuked the fever after the family requested Jesus for her healing. They prayed to Jesus for her healing. And this is a miracle. The fever left her, and immediately this mom arose to serve the fellowship that had come to the house. So she is ministered to by Jesus. And then she wakes up to minister now to Jesus and to those around. I'm just wondering, dear ladies, and this is not just for the girls, but even the men out there, even the young people out there, what do we do when Jesus ministers to us? What is our response? How do we react? Do we wake up and we're like, wow, my strength is back, going back to doing what I want, doing things for myself? Or do we learn from this mom-in-law who's received her healing, and after that she rises up to serve the fellowship that's already come to her house? And this is full healing. So in this case, we are not talking about people who are on a recovery journey and saying, okay, you've recovered a little, go all out. No, this is full healing. She has woken up, the fever is gone, she is fully recovered. This is also to just allow us to find rest. Some of us will be healed immediately. Some of us, it will take time. And some of us, God will just tell us His grace is sufficient to go through the sickness, the pain, the season that we are in. And in this case, we're talking about sickness. So for the different scenarios where the full healing has not yet happened, this is where we need the wisdom of God to be able to know how to serve, minister to others, and even know whether we actually need to serve or do we need to get full rest. What is the best gift that we can give God, especially as a way of saying thank you? I see this mom-in-law rising up to give a service to Jesus. She arises and serves the people. Jesus says that whatever we do to the least of the brothers, we do to him. This mom had the privilege of serving the Lord himself and also had the privilege to be served by God when she received her healing. It's amazing how when our bodies fail us, we are only at the hands of mercy and being held by the Father. It's also amazing to see how when God's strength is in us, he lifts us up and gives us the joy to serve and enjoy the gift of good health on our lives. He's such an amazing God. Now we know that when we call on God for our friends, he hears. We also know that if our friends call on God for us, he hears. We also know that God's will for us is the best, and so we can trust that what he does is good for us. And he's a great God. When we think about how Jesus goes on to heal this mom, we know that at the heart of Christ, there is love and care and value for the women, and the women should respond to his love and care by giving themselves to serve him. And I guess that's like what I'd want us to start thinking about. Jesus ministers to Peter's mom-in-law, and Peter's mom-in-law rises up in the strength she has received to serve Jesus. What about me? Purity, I have received ministered. Jesus has ministered to me in different ways. How am I responding? Am I responding by ministering back to God in the strength that he has given us, he has given me? And what about you? What about you, dear girl? Jesus has ministered to you in one way or the other. How are you responding? Are you responding by ministering back to Jesus? I want to end it there, and I think these are a few verses, but the amount of richness that God shows us when we look at this story of a woman who's sick and then receives healing and goes out to minister. This shows us the heart of God. Shows us how God views women and where God has put women in his heart. So we'll continue this journey. We'll continue to see the lives of women, and many of these women are now women who you're going to see surrounded by Jesus, women who surround Jesus, but just about to just see the fullness of God as He reaches, as He speaks, as He addresses, as He rebukes, as He corrects, as He teaches and trains women. Thank you so much for watching this one. I really pray that it encourages you to arise and serve and acknowledge that God, who has given you the strength, is the same Lord that will sustain you, the same Lord that will minister to you when you are in need, the same Lord that wants you to arise and minister, even when you're in need and it's possible. So have a lovely, lovely evening, day, morning, wherever you're watching this one from. God bless you so much.